All right, I hope everyone's having a good first day of December. Then I open it up for questions.
Just Andre, just in general, how did you feel like the unit on the defensive line performed with a lot of different guys mixing in there? We all had to look up who number 73 was, so different guys mixing in.
I thought some guys did some real good things in the game. They played physical. They threw their bodies around. We played a lot of different run plays in that game. I was glad to see DJ, finally get another sack. He's been close so many times. Amon Watts continues to improve and get better and make plays. I thought James Lynch flashed a lot. He was in the backfield a lot. He made several tackles during the course of the game. You can tell Sheldon was getting more and more comfortable playing defensive end as the game went on. He made a lot of plays in the run game. He got some pressure on the quarterback. We were able to get, TJ in the game for the first time, and he made some plays, and I was encouraged to see that. So the things that I have seen from him, being on the practice squad ended up proving me correct, about him as a player. And then I was really impressed that Tashawn was able to be away from here for 2 years and have so much recall that I could feel comfortable to put him in the game. And I thought it was the most physical Pat has played since he's been here in the game. So there's a lot of encouraging things that I got from watching the group play.
I mean, Deshaun, you said it. He hasn't been here since 19. Did you anticipate using him that, like going into the game, having to use him that early that you knew you could?
No, because I didn't know how much he would remember from being gone. But his recall was amazing. I mean, he was coming up to me the first day and using terms that we use. And do we still do this? Do we still call it this? It was just amazing how much recall he had. So it made me feel real comfortable, to put him in the game early and then transition him fast to obviously going out there in nickel, and playing in nickel with him and DJ playing on the outside.
When you're integrating a bunch of new guys, is it harder to get them up to speed with the pass rush or the run stopping elements?
I would say in the run game, when you're playing a team that gives you as many types of different blocking schemes like San Francisco does, that's a little bit more difficult than, when you're rushing the passer, just a matter of whether your technique's right, whether your rush angle's right. But, their run game is so many different angles and ways that they attack you with motions and shifts and rockets. And so that part of it is a lot more difficult for a guy to be able to get in a short matter of time.
In general, you think NFL officials have given up on calling holding for the most part?
I'll pass on that question. I'll tell you what I tell the guys is don't come to me and complain about holding. Because there's nothing we can do about it. So you just got to live with it. You got to try to fight through it, even though it's a competitive advantage. It is. But if they're not going to call it, they're not going to call it. So we just have to fight through it and find a way to get off the blocks and keep playing. So the worst thing you can do is let it become something that's in your head and slow you down. And you get so upset that you're not competing the way that you should be. And it's hard. It's hard when you're going to make the tackle and a guy just flat out grabs you and turns your body. It's hard for you to accept that. But we don't control that, and they have to let it go and move on to the next play.
You mentioned a couple weeks ago, it looked like Kenny Willekes was going to be one of your key reserves at defensive end. Is he still lingering from being on the COVID list, or has he simply just been passed by other guys in that position?
No. He hasn't been passed by. He hasn't been healthy to play. So he's going to go out to practice today. We'll see how he's doing. But it has nothing to do with guys passing him by. If he's healthy and he can go and play on Sunday, he's going to play. I'm going to put him out there, and he's going to play. I was very impressed with what he was doing, and I expect the same thing from him. So hopefully he can give me a good week of practice, and I can give him a lot of run on Sunday.
Where do you feel like Watts has improved the most?
I think in his overall game. I think he's He's playing well in the run game, and he's playing two different positions. He's playing both nose and three technique. And I think he's doing a tremendous job for us as a pass rusher. I think he's up to 4 or 5 sacks right now, something like that. A lot of pressures. So, he's gotten better and better each week, and we just got to keep that going,
Growth as a pass rusher, what has been the key for him to get to the point where he's been that productive, even in a rotational role?
I think it just comes down to you feeling comfortable in who you are as a pass rusher. And it takes time, for you to develop that because, they all watch tape on other guys in the league and they see a guy use this move and that move, but it's not you. I can't do that move because my talent level doesn't allow me to do that move. Now, it may look pretty on film, and they all want to do what they see other guys do, but they have to figure out who they are as pass rushers and what gifts you have, and then get really good at the gifts you have. And that's what he's figured out. He's figured out who Amon Watts is as a rusher and what's the best combinations for him to be able to use on a guard in the center, and that's where he's continued to improve. And I think the biggest thing, like I get asked all the time, with D linemen, and the same thing with offensive linemen, it takes time for these guys to develop, and I get it. We draft a guy in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round and all the things that he's done in college, and everybody thinks instant success. It doesn't work that way with defensive linemen. It takes time for those guys to develop the technique and the fundamentals in order to beat a really good NFL offensive lineman. When they were in college, they were better than 70% to 80% of the guys they played every Saturday because those guys don't play in the NFL, right? When they get to this league, they're playing the best of the best every week. So a lot of things they were able to get away with in college, they can't get away with in this league. And so that's why it takes time. And that's why I never get frustrated about those guys. James Lynch is playing way better than he did a year ago because it takes time. That's what happens with D linemen.
From a human nature standpoint, what gets your attention about Detroit? I mean, they are who they are. They're 0, 10, and 1.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you get your guys to focus on what they do well, if anything?
Well, I think, number one, when they watch the tape, they do see that they have success. They do see that they've been running the ball very well the last 3 or 4 weeks. I think the other thing that helps us is we played them, and we had to win the game at the end of the game. So they know how tough a physical game it was when we played them the first time, and it's going to be that way this time. And I think the other thing that I tell them all the time is this is the NFL. They got first-round picks. They got guys that are making millions of dollars every Tuesday getting a check. They got real NFL players. And so you have to respect them in that regard. It's not, you can't go schedule, I don't want to make any college get upset at me, but, you can't go and schedule 1AA or a Division II school to come in here and just get beat. That's not this way. They've got great players on their team. And so you have to respect their ability and their talent. And if we don't play well, they will beat us, regardless of their record. If we don't play well on Sunday, they will beat us. And that's just the reality of the situation in the National Football League.
If Swift can't go, I know he's got that shoulder injury. How different is the run game with Williams? I think you actually saw more of, slightly, a little bit more of him week 5. but how
Yeah, it's the
different?
same. He's a good player. He's a physical downhill runner. So the run game stays the same.
Andre, if you can get Dalvin Tomlinson and Michael Pierce back for the end of the year, how big of a lift is that?
Oh, it's huge. So hopefully we get Dalvin back tomorrow, hopefully. Mike's going to go out and do some stuff on the field today. So hopefully they can continue to progress through the week, that they can get out there and play for us on Sunday. So it'd be great to get those two guys back. They're both tremendous players. You know how excited I was about Mike after the first couple games, him showing his pass rush ability as well as his strength in the run game. So if we can get those two guys back, it'd be great. But it's like I told somebody today, it hurt not having them, but it's been great to see what Amon and James Lynch has been able to do. You know, we got 2 other really good football players in our program here, and we got to keep getting those guys better too.
Andre, do you have an update on how Everson Griffin is doing?
I will keep that between me and Everson.
With the reserves, do you generally get what you expect on the field, or do they surprise you either positively or negatively when you watch the tape?
I don't want to say surprise because I'm seeing it in practice, right? And so I always know when a guy gets it is when I see it in practice, and then you play in the game, and then you see the same things you've seen in the game. That's when you said, okay, this guy's starting to turn the corner. Because, you know, sometimes a guy will do things correctly in practice, and then they get into the game, and you don't see it. You know, they're trying to be too perfect, or they're thinking about too many things where they don't in practice because it's practice and they feel comfortable. That happens a lot too. So when I see them go from taking it from practice to the game, then I know that this guy is starting to continue to climb.
Andre, the last time you played the Lions, they did a lot of motion and kind of right at the snap to kind of change things up a little bit. Obviously, San Francisco did a ton of that. What challenge does that create when a team in the running game is using a lot of that pre-snap motion?
Yeah, it's hard, especially when they do it with a tight end, you know, because you set your front off the tight end, you know, and then the strength of your front off the tight end, and then they rocket that guy at the last second. Well, you don't have enough time to move your front where you want it, right? When they just trade the tight end over, we move our front to get it over there. When they rocket that guy over there, that makes it more difficult for you to get your guys in the position to where you can take the angles away. And so that's the hard part.
With the 2-minute drive at the end of the first half, is it just, I mean, Zim was talking about condensing the playbook. And I mean, I don't know if it was a missed assignment or what happened with the end of the first half. How do you teach guys about trying to turn that around? Is there like a specific emphasis that you want to focus on, or is it just, hey, go get work in that situation?
You know, we've been trying to emphasize it in practice. You know, we've put them in those situations, you know, starting about maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago, you know, to try to put them in those situations in practice twice a week, to emphasize it, you know, to put them in the position so they have a better opportunity of feeling comfortable in that situation. You know, the biggest thing that's happened to us of late has been, you know, the penalty. You know, you get a pass interference in this league. You know, it goes from being, it's not just a 10-yard or 15-yard penalty like it is in college. If it happens 30 yards down the field, it's a 30-yard penalty, and it flips everything. And that's what's happened to us a couple times, you know, this season, that the pass interference penalties have killed us in those situations.
Teaching point there just on not giving up momentum going into the second half?
Yeah, that's been our whole thing is if we don't give up points, you know, going into halftime, number one, you feel good. Number two, in most of those situations, we were winning, you know, at that time. And so you really feel good, you know, and then it makes it really bad when they can score going in before the half and then they're getting the second half kickoff. You know, so that makes it really difficult. So it's been something that we've been emphasizing with the group, and it's just something we got to continue to improve and get better at.
Andre, unfortunately, the past couple of years, you've started to see defensive injuries mounting this time of year. I guess over the years, what have you learned about holding a defense together when key guys are out?
Well, I mean, again, it goes back to what I said a couple weeks back. That's why you've got to coach everybody, because injuries are going to happen through the course of the season. And the same thing, you know, with the COVID being the way it is, you just never know. You walk in here and the guy's not able to play, right? So you got to keep coaching everybody, number one. And then, you know, I just think it comes down to, you know, when they're playing, that the guys understand that, hey, my number can be called at any time, and it's my job to go out there and not let the team down, that I've prepared myself through the course of the week to go play. And because of dealing with COVID the last 2 years, that's changed too, because, you know, we take our practice squad guys with us now on the road, because a guy could wake up Sunday morning and not be able to go. So now as a coach, you have to make sure that those guys understand the game plan and those guys are prepared to play. And that's why I give them reps, even though, you know, going into the game, they may not play. But I give them reps during the week, because come Sunday, you know, I'm calling them and saying, hey, you got to go. And if he hadn't got any reps at all during the week, I haven't done that guy a favor. So, I mean, I just think that's the biggest way you have to handle it.
How have you seen things shift over the years here with trying to I guess, take some load off of guys late in the season and practices to keep them fresh?
Yeah, I think Coach Zim has done a great job of backing down some at practice to try to get them fresh and get them ready to go. I think that's helped a lot with our guys this year. But that's the hard part in this league. It's a marathon, and every team is dealing with it. Every team in the league is dealing with injuries, guys being dinged up, dealing with COVID. So every team's dealing with it. So it's just a matter of can you do a good enough job with your guys to get them to perform to the best of their abilities? We've been in every game this year. We've had a chance to win every game this year. So right now, it's just about winning. That's the number one thing we got to do. It's not about stats, it's statistics, none of that. That's about winning, and that we hold them to one less point than they can score. It's all about winning right now.
Andre, what are your chances of having Anthony Barr this coming Sunday?
I won't know. He was in walkthrough today. He'll be at practice today, and we'll just see how the week turns out.
Last couple, Roger.
Where's the confidence level of your defense right now?
Oh, I think they feel good about themselves. Nobody looked like their woe is me or the sky's falling or anything like that. I don't feel that or see that. I think they feel good about themselves. I haven't seen any lack of confidence at all.